Hello and welcome to World of Tanks Bootcamp with Zethika. Now, before we start, I have a few thoughts that I would like to share with you all. Now, when I started this series, this Bootcamp series, I was thinking that it should be for both the intermediary and the beginners, right? But this is not... I've come to realize that this is not really such a good idea. So instead, what I'm thinking is that I'm going to be going through this bootcamp series with the focus on getting myself better and by extension intermediary players better. Going through what kind of thoughts I have in a fight, what I should have been doing, what I needed to do in certain situations, not so much on the more basic level. And I've been thinking that I should launch a new series where I focus entirely on the very basics, like a sort of tutorial for new players. So, with that out of the way, I was also thinking that maybe if you have some sort of... if you have a subject that you would like me to cover and talk a bit about, or maybe find a replay to show you in regards to that, please say so in the comments and I'll be sure to try and get something out for you. Now, with that out of the way, let us move on with this game. In this game, I'm in the WZ-131. The tier 7 Chinese light tank and an absolutely beautiful little piece of machinery. I'm not using the top gun on this. I'm using the higher damage per minute gun with lower penetration and lower alpha damage, because I usually find that if I get into a tier 10 match where I might really use that extra penetration, I will still just have to go around the enemies, and the extra penetration is really only that helpful to me when I get in front of them, in which case I'm usually dead anyways. Alright, so now on this map, as most of you are probably aware, I'm going to go right around here up onto the hill and try and dominate the hill, because in most cases it's the place that allows you to dominate most of the map and aid as many places as possible. Of course, I'm not going to go up there alone. If I had seen that I was, at least to my general view, that I had been entirely alone, I would have gone over here or even over there. So no, probably not. I would have gone over there. But at this point I'm looking behind me to see if I have any backup, and I do. So I decide to move forward and I get a shot in on the MX-1375 trying to get into cover. And there we go, I get a tracking shots, and I decide to hide behind here, trying to stay out of shots from whatever is over there and aid this Type 59. So as you can see, we've already taken the hill quite heavily. Now, this position is really good for us, because now all of the enemy heavy tanks are right there, and I don't really know why I decided I needed to move out here, because that was glorious and in a glorious explosion. So we've probably already won the game in those first few minutes of the game. So I noticed this E75 over there, but I am not going to really focus on him since he's not that important. I'm going to be using this rock as cover against whatever is over in this area, and also a little bit against the E75, although he seems to have not noticed me as of yet. If he had, this would have been a much different position. So what this allows us is to simply completely demolish all of the enemy tanks who's sitting right here, because they have no way of defending against both me and the heavy tanks on the other side of the hill. This is part of the reason why this hill is so important, and why you should always, if you can, focus on either this hill or this city. I have rarely found that this area over here is really something of worth. The city and the hill is where it's at on this map, in my opinion. Now, one thing I always need to take into account is that I need to keep a lookout. I get a Sadly, I drive right in front of the Type 59 and get a shot right in my ass. No worries, Type 59, that was my fault entirely. I should have had a better spatial awareness. I try a speculative shot at that artillery, but no luck. I didn't really expect anything of it. And this is clearly a wash. But in this kind of a game, you can see why I'm choosing to use... I was actually a bit lucky that I didn't die right there. You can see why I'm choosing to use the higher damage gun. And I died to the E75, who's now waiting for me. Well, the game's already over. It was a very fast little match. However, I felt that this portrayed quite decently... Let's keep going here. This portrayed quite decently why the hill is so important. Because if you have the hill, you can sit right here, you can defend, you can aid all of your heavy tanks, who's probably right here, or right here. Again, actually, now that I think about it, this is a much better position if you're from the south. Because if you're coming from the south, you can hit all of the enemy heavy tanks, who's right here. If I was coming from the north, and I was coming here, I would be able to shoot into their base, sure, but I would not be able to get easy shots on their asses of their heavy tanks. That's actually something I hadn't really considered before, but a very important little observation there. Also, if I had gone over here, in a heavy tank, of course, not in the light tank, if I had gone over here, the reason why I feel this area is also quite important is that if you get here, you're still... or here, hiding behind some of these houses here, if you're a lower tier, you're able to aid both the cap if you get overrun, and you're also able to quickly get into the enemy cap, and, most importantly, if you get a feel for the game, and you feel like there isn't any tanks up here, you can get into this position. This is rather rare, really. I've rarely used this position, going around here, without getting shot at from the tank destroyers, who are usually camping up in this area. Now, if I was coming from the north, I would most likely also be going over here, because again, I can easily get back and defend, whereas if I was going all the way over here, I would be... the terrain here doesn't really allow for so many shots back into the base, or back into the base, whereas this terrain allows for shots back into the base, and here from here into the base. Although this shot here is more tricky, where you can usually only hit someone around this outcropping down here, whereas from here you can shoot all the way down on the base with impunity, aiding your friends who is down here. And with that, let us move on to the post-game stats. And here we go. Now, this was a first-class mastery badge. I was actually a bit surprised that this wasn't an actual mastery badge, since I was firing throughout the entirety of that game against Tier 8 and Tier 9s. Alright, it was a short game, and it was a bit of a stomp, I think we can all agree, right? But still, that just goes to show how good this tank actually is, even in the damage and spotting departments. Now, I got 44,044 credits gross, 5,931 experience earned at a 3-time victory. I did the most damage on the third most damage on my team. I got that much experience because I got a lot of spotting, and it was against higher tires. Now, as you can see here, I got 1100 spotting and 2,368 damage on 13 shots fired. That's about average. I got 31,821 credits with everything subtracted, and I only spotted 7 tanks, so it was not enough for a patrol medal. However, we can all agree that this was a bit of a stomp, right? So, why am I showing you this little match here? I'm showing it because I see way too many times that light tanks underestimate the or even medium tanks underestimate the importance of the hill. The hill was what completely destroyed the enemy team in that match. We got up on the hill quickly, me and that Type 59, who could support each other. You should never go up there alone, because then you'll just be fodder for the enemy. Now, they were 3 against us who could try to get up to the hill. However, our heavy tanks were able to get over and support us quickly enough that they were able to take up the T-54 effectively, almost completely take out the T-54 without any of our assistance, and aid us in the destruction of the AMX-12. Now, that Object 416 was the only one we actually had to deal with, and since it was 2 of us, he didn't really stand a chance. Especially against the Type 59, who is a beautiful bastard of a tank. But getting up there that quickly allowed us flanking shots into the enemy ass. This cannot be overstated how important it is. I see way too many times that light tanks go out on the little island. And as I said, I feel that this is rather useless, because it's rarely that area that produces the winner. Whoever wins the middle, and in some cases the town, wins this map. This map is very linear. It's actually a bit of a boring map, but I felt it showed quite well how aggressive I think you really need to be in a light tank, especially one like the WZ-131, which is also capable of doing quite good damage. With this gun, it's capable of doing, I think it's around 2100 DPM. That's better than most medium tanks at the tire. So if you can get into a position where you can actually penetrate the enemies, you're golden. And that's also why I got that much experience. I got 1300 base experience. And again, I just have to say, that just goes to show that since this is not a mastery badge, this tank is amazing. People are doing amazing shit in this tank. And that's really as far as I can go. Now, I hope you enjoyed, I hope you found it informative, and I hope I'll see you back tomorrow or later for more World of Tanks or whatever else you decide to watch on my channel. Please remember to vote, comment, subscribe, it really does help, and I'll see you later on.